and Education Commission. Danica, can you please take roll?
I would love to take roll. Let me just pull up my roll sheet here. And we have a few new faces joining, so that's always exciting. I can't wait. And let's pull that right up. All right, there we go. All right, Chair Wendy.
I am here.
Fantastic. Vice Chair Magana.
Present.
Wonderful. All right, Commissioner Zisser.
Here.
Fantastic. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ramtakar. Absent. Commissioner Thorson.
Here.
Wonderful, thank you. Commissioner Mendoza. Absent. Commissioner Jolly.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Kelly.
Here and accounted for.
Fantastic. Commissioner Ramos.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen. Absent. Commissioner Melillo.
Here.
There you are. All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Danica. So I just want to take a minute to welcome our new commissioners and also let you know as new commissioners that folks just call me Chair Wendy because saying Chair Mahaney Gurahu every time is a mouthful and a half. So as you go, you are more than welcome to say Chair Wendy as well. As a preschool teacher, we always went by our first names. Miss Wendy was mine. So I am very comfortable with using my first name. But we want to welcome, we have 3 new commissioners, Erin Zisser from D2. And Erin, maybe you could tell us just a quick little bit about yourself, and the other 2 can get in line for next, giving us a little information about themselves too. But Erin, we'd love to hear a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Chair Wendy. I am from San Jose, from Campbell originally, born in San Jose, but was on the East Coast for a long time, moved back to San Jose a few years ago, and moved to my current home in San Jose just a year ago. We use the Santa Teresa branch obsessively. I have 2 small kids who are extremely into books and reading, and we walk down to the library or drive over there. We get dozens of books at a time. I'm an avid reader, reading several books right now, including one from the library. Was a comparative literature major, a creative writing minor, a Spanish literature minor. So books have always been a big part of my life. My mom is a college English teacher. We went to the library all the time as kids in Campbell. So I'm just really excited to be a part of this. I'm a huge fan of the libraries here. It's an amazing service. I've had amazing experiences with the graphic novel contest for my kid and all the different programs at the libraries, and I'm just really thrilled to be here.
Oh, thanks, Erin. You're going to find out all the fun, all the things that go on in our big library system for sure. So welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
We also have from D9, Kenneth or Ken Kelly, however you would like us to call you, Ken. Let us know and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, you can call me anything you like as long as you call me for dinner. But please use Ken. My wife, Linda Lazada, and I live in District 9, obviously, in the Kirtner Meridian area. I'm a retired educator with the County of Santa Clara. I was a senior assistant librarian at the University of California when I was a student in Berkeley. This is the 4th commission that I've served on. And I'm also on the Friends of the Bascom Library, was one of the founding members of that library and of the Friends group. And so looking forward to serving this committee as well.
Oh, welcome.
Good to see everybody. Yeah, good to see everybody.
Good to see you. Welcome, Commissioner. And in the citywide education seat number 1, Commissioner Angelica Ramos. Do you want to let folks know all about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Wendy, and good evening to everyone here. Thank you for having me. My name is Angelica Ramos Allen, but I'm going to go by Angelica Ramos so that it doesn't get confusing here. I currently work for County Supervisor Susan Ellenberg. I handle her children and families policy in addition to intergovernment relations and strategic initiatives. I have a law degree where I specialize in child welfare and juvenile justice. And I've been a very big advocate for the past 10 years on expanding childcare and opportunities and paid family leave. And I'm very excited to be here. I know most of you, so it'll be really fun. I like to have a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome, Commissioner Ramos. And as folks may or may not know, of course, Commissioner Allen is related to Commissioner Ramos as her mother-in-law. So we've all in the family. We're happy to have all three of you here. Welcome. It's gonna be a great year. We've got a lot on the docket, a lot of things to do. I just want to make sure everyone knows that we're still looking. We have some vacancies in District 5, District 10, and one more citywide education seat number 2. So if you know folks in those districts and or who are interested, we still are recruiting and would love folks. Hello, Commissioner Mendoza, welcome. I'm glad you made it. Okay, we're moving on to consent calendar. I want to note that we're going to be approving both the August 18th agenda, of course, which is today, and the June 16th meeting minutes all in one. So are there any discussions, corrections, and or additions from commissioners? All right, if not, can someone make a motion?
Vice Chair Magana, so moved to approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And just for the new guys, because we're in Zoom, if you'll say your last name, it makes it easier for us to record. And can I have a second?
I'll second that, Commissioner Milillo.
Thank you, Commissioner. And then we vote in affirmative, negative, or abstention for the new guys. So all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Thanks, because you were not here for the agenda.
I was not.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Let's see, we will move on. Although I don't know if Commissioner Ramos and Zisser want to abstain as well. They were not here, or maybe you were here and you heard our agenda at our meeting minutes and looked them over.
I was not here, and if the proper thing to do is to abstain, then I will abstain.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Ramos.
Chair Wendy, I'm happy to abstain as well.
Thank you all.
Commissioner Ramos.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, we're moving right along. Any public records since this morning? Danica?
None that I saw or received.
Excellent. We'll keep moving on. The next is our open forum. If there's anyone here that, besides commissioners, that are part of the public that would wish to speak on anything that is not on the agenda, now is your time. If so, please click on the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen and Danica will call on you. You will have 2 minutes if you choose to have public comment. Danica, is anybody wanting to have public comment?
So far, I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, we will move along then. We are moving quick. It's great.
I'm excited to get in the presentation.
Yes, that is right. So we have 2 items in discussion today, but both don't need action. They are both informational. And so the first information item is around college and career readiness. I think Adrienne McBride, Katie Linder will introduce and go through the PowerPoint with us for this presentation. So take it away, guys.
Great, thank you. My name's Adrian McBride. I'm the Community Programs Administrator with Partners in Reading, and we're here today, myself and Katie Linder are here today to give you an update on college and career readiness. Next slide, please. We have this broken down into different areas: San Jose Aspires, which Katie Linder will speak on, Career Online High School, which I will speak on, and then we'll have other discussions about SJPL Works, San Jose Works, and other college and career ready programs, initiatives, as well as a logic model that we've been working on. Next slide. And then before we begin, I would like to introduce you all to Katie Linder. She is a new literacy program specialist with the San Jose Public Library. She started in February of 2021, so in the heart of COVID, and she took over for the day-to-day management of the San Jose Aspires program, and she's hit the ground running with it, and she's here to give you the update.
And Danica, you can go on to the next slide. And thank you for that introduction, Adrian. I'm excited to be able to talk a little bit about the start of SJ Aspires and kind of where we've grown the program to this past year and where we're headed going forward. So just to recap or reintroduce those of you who aren't aware of SJ Aspires, San Jose Aspires began as a pilot program in 2018, and the program is designed to improve college and career readiness by allowing students to claim different awards that are connected to college and career success. And so our students receive scholar dollars for each award they claim. And once that student enrolls in a post-secondary institution, which could be a community college, a college or university, or a trade school, the student will receive an award disbursement that's equivalent to the amount they claimed in scholar dollars. And these funds can be spent on the things the student needs to succeed in school. So that can be tuition and fees, it could be a laptop or other materials that they need for their classes. It's really up to the student at the end of the day how they spend their funds. And as a pilot, SJ Aspires primarily partnered with Overpelt High School and the San Jose Conservation Corps and Charter School. Some of our other partners included James Lick High School and the National Center for Youth Law, as well as JUMA. And in total, there were 166 students from the pilot that claimed at least one award. And collectively, those students claimed over $54,000 in scholar dollars, which is pretty incredible. Of those students, as you can see on the screen, we've had 65 who have had their funds dispersed to them to use in post-secondary, and our students were split almost evenly between attending community college and four-year universities. And before I go on, I'll note that SJ Aspires is made possible through private gifts and grants that are designated directly for the program, and all of our funding is managed through the San Jose Public Library Foundation. Go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, so as we look in this past year, we served 686 students who claimed over 2,000 awards and over $170,000 in scholar dollars. Besides these metrics, we also launched the SJ Aspires community portal, which is the digital access point for students to engage with the program, to claim awards, to track their funds and all of that. Also, in partnership with the foundation and the mayor's office, we hosted a Meet the Students event that gave students the opportunity to engage with SJ Aspires supporters and advocates. We were also fortunate enough to be able to virtually visit every single enrolled student's classroom this past year to encourage program awareness and engagement, which was really critical with all of the challenges that were presented this past academic year. We launched connected savings accounts with city banking for all students, which serves as a virtual holding space for their scholar dollars. And it's another space where they can continue to watch these accounts grow as they claim more awards throughout their high school journey. We also started a student committee, and this committee was able to provide feedback on navigating the program, on what opportunities they'd like to see in future years and more. And in the upcoming year, it's a priority to continue to cultivate and expand this group. And lastly, we identified different summer opportunities for students, from a virtual coding 5K camp to summer award pathways and summer program sponsorships that gave students the opportunity to continue claiming awards in between school years so that they can chip away at their $5,000. You can go ahead and take me to the next slide, please. So this is just a breakdown of our enrolled students this past year. So in total, we had 3 partner schools: Overvelt High School, San Jose High School, and the Opportunity Youth Academy. Last year, we were fortunate enough to be able to enroll the entire 9th grade class at Overvelt and the entire 10th grade class at San Jose High School, which is where you see those big numbers on the slide. And these students will continue to remain enrolled in the program through their expected high school graduation. So we've got 2 and 3 more years with both of those groups respectively. And a majority of our demographic data, which you can see on the screen, comes from what families self-report to schools. Then students do have the ability to update their information in our system. For our students this past year, 46% identified as female and 54% as male. And then we had 92% of our students identified as BIPOC. We can move on to the next slide. So this is as we look into this next year, the school year that started today for half of our students. So we're excited to be able to add some additional staffing support first and foremost to this program to help handle some of the administrative processes. As I mentioned on my previous slide, we'll continue to serve those 388 Overvelt students and those 236 San Jose High School students who will be in 10th and 11th grades respectively. On top of this, we'll go deeper at both of these schools, focusing on 9th and 10th graders. And that's going to allow us to maximize the amount of time we spend with each of our students, since this is a program that's expected to span throughout high school. At Overvelt, we'll enroll 150 new 9th grade students, and at San Jose High School, we're looking to enroll approximately 190 students from both the 9th and 10th grade classes. So we'll have that full continuum there. And this will bring our total number to above 1,000 students in this next year. And we'll work with our partner schools to identify the students that will enroll, and that's what we're actively doing right now. And we'll prioritize students with financial need and students who will be first generation college students as we're able to access that information with the schools. So as we scale the program, we're also looking to maximize our supporter engagement and collaborate with our sponsors to create new opportunities, awards, and experiences for our students. We'll also be looking to further develop our digital SJ Aspires community that I previously discussed, which will include things like a mobile app for students to be able to access the program, as well as new features like badges that will allow us to bundle different awards together and identify different interest pathways for students. And lastly, we'll be evolving that student committee into a community of practice to make sure that the communities that we serve are the individuals who are providing guidance on how we actually develop the program moving forward. All right, and I think you can take me to my last slide, Danica. Oh, is there one behind it? No worries. All right. So my last slide was just going to be a highlight from one of our students. I think what I've heard most from students is that this program helps them find ways to actually set goals for themselves. And one of our students who attended the Meet the Students event, she set a goal of $1,500 to earn for the year. She has since crushed it and also got her first ever job so that she can continue saving for college, which is always really exciting to hear. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it back to Adrian. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then I'm just going to give you all a brief update on San Jose Public Library's Career Online High School. For context, we began the Career Online High School in February of 2016. It provides students who are 18 and older the opportunity to earn a high school diploma and career certificate simultaneously over the course of up to 18 months. So since the program launched in 2016, we have had a total of 122 graduates. We had 120 as of the end of the fiscal year, and we've split those up into 19 cohorts. To get to that number, we've done over 1,000 assessments and over 250 interviews to make sure we identify candidates who we believe will have success in the program. And our success rate is approximately about between 70 and 75%. So we do a really good job of making sure that the students who are in the program are able to finish the program and graduate with their high school diploma and the career certificate. Over that time, we've had 6 graduation ceremonies. We just actually had the 7th a couple of weeks ago. That one was virtual. We were hoping to get back to in person again in February with our next commencement exercise. And then as a little side program, a couple of years ago, we had the opportunity to take advantage of a program called Working Scholars. So we identified 6 graduates from Career Online High School. They enrolled in Working Scholars, and it was an opportunity for them to earn a bachelor's degree online through study.com's nonprofit arm. Of those 6 people in there initially, we have 4 who are still in the program, and 2 of those are on track to complete sometime in 2022. Next slide, please. And then I believe Kyle Burkett is here to speak about San Jose SJPL Works.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Can you all hear me? Okay, my name is Kyle Burkett, and I'm the new manager of the SJPL Works department. So we're the Career and Business Development wing of the library, in case any of you are not familiar with us. So this slide right here, it just represents the programming work that the department has done over the last year and sort of our goals for next year. So over the last fiscal year, we had about 3,552 people that attended 778 different business and career programs that we hosted. Many of those were done with our local community partners. Currently, we have 32 active community partners. Just as an example, one of the most well-attended business programs that we had over the last year was a series of 8 entrepreneurship classes. And that was with Centro Community Partners, which is a multilingual organization, and that drew about 411 attendees. In addition to that, we had 125 people that received direct help at the King Library Reference Desk. So those were walk-ins. Those might be a little bit down just as a result of everything with pandemic. We also had 100 different one-on-one career or business consultations with the librarian. Our goals for the next fiscal year are to evaluate the current programming models that we have, innovate and adapt them to eliminate the barriers that we continue to face, continue to collaborate with the San Jose Public Library's family literacy coordinators to reach our most vulnerable customers. And then also we plan to expand our outreach capacity through a partnership with the AmeriCorps Vista program. And we think that that's going to help us just do more outreach outside of the main library branch and kind of take those work services out to the branches, and then also help with the expansion of our hotspot lending program and the digital literacy services that we offer that are related to the career development. So next slide, please. And so this slide, this is just, so we've had a pretty long-standing partnership with Work to Future, but this year we entered into the Workforce Partnership Initiative in response to rising unemployment numbers, which soared to 9.3% over the last fiscal year. That partnership has been strengthened by this grant that we've received, essentially. The funding for this initiative, it came through the California State Library, but it was part of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, so the CARES Act. And with that funding, we were able to purchase 20 Chromebooks and hotspots for customer use, a subscription to BrainFuse's VetNow and JobNow online employment and career development databases. And then we received training for SJPL staff on common business and career development resources. So that was kind of a train the trainer type situation. So that will allow us to expand our influence there. And we partnered with Work to Future to offer an ongoing series of virtual programs designed to help job seekers develop new career building skills. So far, we've had 72 people participate, and we have 8 more of those classes scheduled through October. And then at the end of this program, we'll have the opportunity to evaluate it, and we may be able to enter the WPI for a second year. So thank you very much. Next slide. So for Resilience Score.
Yes, thank you, Kyle. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren Hancock. I'm the Community Programs Administrator with the Expanded Learning Unit. The Resilience Core Learning Pathway Pilot Program, that's a mouthful, is a job program for young adults that focuses on critical areas of community resilience, specifically accelerating K-12 learning recovery from the COVID pandemic. This program is a 1-year federally funded program that provides 50 young adults with part-time employment, ensuring a living wage. Priority is given to young adults residing in one of the low resource census tracts in the city of San Jose. And second priority is given to young adults residing in San Jose outside of those resource census tracts, but that have been impacted by the COVID pandemic. This program is led by the library and in partnership with the Public Library Foundation as the employee of record. Young adults have been recruited through local colleges and universities, as well as some of our community partners. The primary goal of this pilot is designed to address economic and workforce development needs among our university students, with the secondary goal of accelerating learning growth in our K-12 students. Associates will be placed within high-quality, well-established expanded learning program providers, which you see here. These providers are aligned to Common Core anchor standards, prioritize whole child learning opportunities, including social emotional learning, academic, physical activity, and they all follow the CDC public health and safety guidelines and best practices. This is the pilot year, and we will be following the college and career readiness quality standards. We've done that in the planning process. We'll use them as a guide for adjustments and improvement, and we'll use the assessment tool upon the completion of the first year. Thank you. Next slide.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lizzie Nolan. I'm the Senior Librarian at Youth Services. I'm going to talk to you today about teen virtual programs and volunteer. The crown jewel of our teen program is something called Teens Reach. Teens Reach programs act as the youth council for the library and provide a key way for young adults to build their leadership skills and become library advisors and advocates. Our Teens Reach group continues to meet virtually during library closure. Each month this fiscal year, we had an average of 130 teens that spend about 183 hours per month participating in our Teens Reach program. The virtual format really provided us an opportunity to offer programs all across San Jose. So in order to kind of understand what our teens were looking for, the Teen HQ department conducted a survey of mental and social emotional health early in the spring of 2020. And we're super excited to say that we had over 1,000 youth in grades 6 through 12, representing all 10 council districts and more than 35 zip codes respond to the surveys. Teens expressed concerns with distance learning, family life, and social life during the pandemic. And many youth use this open response format to really share specific and really heartfelt feelings about teenagehood and how it was impacted by this global pandemic. It was really moving and a beautiful way for youth to sort of express their feelings. Who would have thought a survey? So based on this feedback, the staff implemented a variety of social emotional aspects to existing programs, such as mental health check-ins during our teens volunteer meetings. And the library also created several new programs with various different community partners that you can see here. In addition to Teens Reach program, the library offered other virtual volunteering opportunities. We have the Teen Book Reviewer and the Short Edition, which allows teens to write book reviews and compose original short stories to to earn volunteer credit. We also have SJ Engage, which explores social action and civic engagement within San Jose communities. And teens, for that run, teens review a self-paced curriculum on gun violence, immigration, homelessness, poverty, climate change, and mental health. All of these, like I said, all of these teen opportunities allow teens to earn volunteer credit in a virtual setting. So as of 2021, July 2021, we had nearly 200 teens volunteer an average of 379 hours per month. Next slide, please. Teen HQ also partnered with Work to Future. In the before times, each summer, the library system as a whole had about 50 Work to Future youth who would work out at the branches, but during library closure, we wanted to give them their first taste of virtual work. So Teen HQ partnered with Work to Future for 4 quarters for virtual courses spanning up to 8 weeks apiece, and they're designed to give high school students their first work experience. Next slide.
Great. Thank you, Lizzie. And then, so I'm going to speak a little bit on the college and career readiness logic model. Next slide, please. So the work on this logic model actually began at the November 12, 2020 NSE committee meeting, where we were requested to develop a logic model on college and career readiness for all city programs. So we coordinated this logic model across multiple different departments, and we've created a map of departmental programs as well as the larger overall logic model. Next slide. So as you can see, we coordinated with multiple different departments, like I mentioned, just to make sure we included everybody. The experience, the really positive benefit of the experience was learning all the different things that the city does actually to develop college and career opportunities for students and young adults who are within city programs or within the city. Next slide, please. So this work was managed off of the adoption of the College and Career Readiness Quality Standards. These were adopted at the December 1st, 2020 City Council, and they cover 8 areas, including technology and access, privacy and security, safe and supportive learning environments, skill building and learning, curriculum and teaching practices, staffing, program leadership and management, as well as equity, diversity, and inclusion. Next slide. This led us to our problem statement after we did some searching that said the city of San Jose offers a wide spectrum of college and career readiness programs for youth, which we've defined as ages 14 to 18, and young adults, which is ages 18 to 29. However, we noticed that there was a lack of coordination and awareness between city programs. We believe this limited opportunities that may be available to youth and young adults and encourages them to disconnect from city programs when their interests change, rather than being introduced to other opportunities offered by city departments. Next slide. So this is the logic model, equity and action. We've broken it down into 4 primary areas. Inputs, these are resources that are provided, such as staffing, funding, partnerships, both for-profit, nonprofit, and educational partners, workforce development, things of that sort. Activities is the second one. So these are the actual programs that are offered to the students, things like mentorship, different programs within the library, such as SJ Aspires and Teens Reach, work opportunities, various things like that. Outputs, these are the goals that we hope to achieve. So, we want to make sure we ensure a diverse range of work experience opportunities. We know that not every youth or young adult has the same interests, and we don't anticipate trying to make them have the same interest. We want to make sure they all have access to living wage careers, their positive experiences. So if they decide they want to join the city, they know it's a positive work environment, things of that sort. And then we've identified outcomes into 2 separate categories, both college, and the focus on college is, the identification of career pathways and the education needed to reach those career pathways, and making sure they have access to programs such as apprenticeships or internships to give them the experience to join those careers, and then careers themselves. So these would be things sort of like occupational training, apprenticeships, internships, things of that sort as well as the specific knowledge about policies and regulations that people need for career success. So if you think of it, if you're an engineer, you need to know a lot about a variety of different subjects to make sure whatever you're creating meets government regulations, local regulations, things of that sort. We made sure that all programs are designed and evaluated to reach and provide high quality opportunities to under-resourced communities. And each individual program or department will develop their own program specific performance metrics and outcomes. Next slide, please. So the next step is we need to prioritize equity of access and inclusion in under-resourced communities, complete the journey mapping of college and career readiness programs. Like I mentioned before, the establishment of performance goals and metrics for each program, and that includes library programs and city programs. Identification of staffing and data to support connecting the city's different programs, as well as development of a community of practice to inform understanding around opportunities and make sure that everybody's voice is heard, from the students who are part of the program, to the people who administer the program, to the department heads who look to these programs to help staff and provide them with high quality staff in the future. Next slide, please. And that is the presentation on college and career readiness. Reimagining the city as a classroom. Let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you. So just for the new folks, so they kind of know the order of the day, when we have public members of the public here, which we do, we ask if there's any member of the public that would like to give comment. If so, now would be your time to raise your hand, and Danica will let me know and we'll call on you. If there's anyone, please raise your hand now from the public. Any hand raised, Danica?
Not that I am seeing.
All right, now we will move to commissioners. If there are commissioners that have questions, comments, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Commissioner Zisser. I hope I'm saying it right.
You are. Thank you.
Yes.
And that most people don't, so thanks. Really great presentation. Thank you to the various staff that put that together. I wanted to keep my introduction earlier short, but one thing I should have said that I really appreciated about this presentation is that my main interest in being on this commission is about equity and access. My background is in civil rights and specifically on criminal justice reform, but more broadly civil rights and including disability rights. And so I really appreciated a lot of the information in here. I have a couple questions if that's okay. One is for the SJ Aspire program, there was some really great demographic information, and I'm wondering if similar information is available for the other parts of the presentation, the other programs that were discussed.
Adrian, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. One of the benefits of the San Jose Aspires program is that we have a data sharing agreement with the local schools that we partner with. So a lot of the demographic data we get about those students is actually the reported information that they or their parents report to the schools when they register and it enters into the data system, and things of that sort. For general library programs, we don't really track demographic information. We know the communities the programs are in. We know the zip codes the programs are in. We've developed equity. Maybe Michelle can help me remember. Michelle or not can help me remember the name of it. But we've developed an equity index of the higher needs communities based off of zip codes and the resources that get taken advantage of in those communities. But as far as I know from my experience in the library, the specific demographic information like race, ethnicities, gender, things like that is not traditionally tracked.
Can I ask a follow-up question through the chair? Thanks. You're muted, but
yes,
I think
you can.
nodding
Yes,
affirmatively.
there you go.
Thank you. Thanks for that answer. That's actually super helpful. There's an actual reason why there's no demographic data available. That said, does the library ask for self-reported data or self-reported information from participants? And obviously it's voluntary, but do we at least collect it even if we don't track it at this point? Do we ask for it?
That's a great question, Commissioner. So it really depends on the program. So certain partnerships that we have with grants, we do collect that information voluntarily. So some of that comes in the form of, for example, the work we're doing with digital inclusion in surveys. So there is the opportunity there. And we have a small but mighty data unit that is also working with our equity and inclusion manager on some of those things and metrics, figuring out how we can capture the self-reporting and then have a tool within which to use that.
I noticed for one of the programs, I forget which one, that the eligibility criteria place as first priority those folks in certain zip codes, and then secondly, other San Jose residents not in those zip codes. So even if we don't have demographic data, presumably for that one, for example, we would have data on how many of the participants are in that first eligibility category and how many are in the second one, correct?
Right, and actually that's a very specific new pilot program for the mayor's budget message and initiative. And Lauren, if you want to speak to that, since she's been really closely tied to developing those criteria with the other city departments, that could be really helpful insight.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. For Resilience Corps, we prioritize applicants or associates living in low resource census tracts, and then those in moderate and then high resource census tracts that have been impacted by COVID. And because the program is federally funded through the American Rescue Plan Act, there are specific requirements and eligibility requirements for that. So we do have that data. The majority of people that have been hired so far for the program, we have 20. I believe 18 of them are living in low resource census tract, and the other 2 have been impacted by COVID.
Before I get to I know I've asked a series of follow-ups, but before I get to my other question, I'll just close this question with just a request, and maybe it's something, if the chair is interested in reinforcing, then we can do it formally, but just a request on my part. Yeah, it looks like you're already very focused on this. And again, I appreciate it. It was chock full of information about equity. And obviously, whenever I go into the library, I can see how much of a focus there is on diversity and inclusion. And it's one of the things that excites me about this library system, to be honest. So I'm enormously grateful for that. In the future, I guess just again, from my perspective, to the extent you can include any demographic information about these programs as you present them, I would welcome that. It would be helpful, even if it's not sort of broken out by race, if it's broken out by zip code or eligibility category, et cetera. So that it's just a request. I'm not trying to make anything of this because you included a ton of great information. So thank you once again. My other question is just a process question, and maybe this is more for the chair. I found it very difficult to follow the PowerPoint because of the size of the font. I'm worried about access issues. And I also help in my job, I help staff a city commission in another city. And we always do our best to get materials out before the session for those reasons. I would have found it very useful to be able to study that information. There was a lot of great information ahead of time. Do we try to make it a practice to get that information to the commission and the public before the session? Because doing it afterwards really makes it difficult.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner. On both requests on process, the demographic data, ensuring that in all presentations, data is whatever available is there, is certainly something we can direct staff to do, although I think they obviously do a really nice job. I think Danica answered a few of people in the chat about whether it goes out ahead of time. I will talk to staff about it in our next planning meeting, and we'll get back to you and see what the logistics are around moving as much out ahead of time as possible. So I appreciate that, Commissioner.
Okay, but it's not a I mean, I'm inferring that it's not a requirement that it be pushed out ahead of time.
From my knowledge at this point, no.
Okay.
And then you talked about font. And so you talked about,
well, I just mean it would make it easier to see it ahead of time. I understand they're putting a lot of information in the slides, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Perfect. Anything?
Yeah, just one other thing. Well, I'll leave it there. That's plenty. Again, I just really appreciate the information. This was, when I read the memo was provided ahead of time, and I found that really interesting as well. And these are fantastic programs, and I'm just thrilled that it's happening. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other commissioners? I thought I saw Commissioner Kelly early on had a hand up. Is that already got answered for you, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you. It did. But it does bring up a point, and that is when acronyms are used in the program, it's helpful for people that don't know what that acronym means. Instead of just saying BIPOC, I had no idea what that was. And that was answered for me, so I appreciate that. But it's always helpful when somebody says the whole word and then refers to an abbreviation at a later point. And again, I also echo Aaron's request for information ahead of time. It's very difficult to listen carefully to the presenter and also try and look at the words and then write down your notes that you want to do. At least for me, that is an issue. So I echo that. And I do thank the presenters. Really great work and a lot of information. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. So sorry, Vice Chair. I see your hands up, but it's hidden in the trees.
No
So
worries.
I didn't see it.
Oh yeah, I can barely see it as well. No, thank you. And folks, you may hear my little one. She's listening to some Cocoa Melon in the background, so she may make an appearance. So just giving folks a heads up. Thanks again for this presentation. That was fantastic to get the updates on multiple fronts. The question I have is specifically on the Aspires program and access. And I saw some schools on there. I see San Jose High, which in my separate role as a trustee, excited to see one of our schools from San Jose Unified there. I'm curious, how could other school districts or other schools, I'm not sure if this was covered, so I apologize, but how could they sign up and get involved with this? I'm curious, being a little selfish here. I know I represent a specific high school that I think would be a potentially great partner. So just curious on that front.
Sure thing. So primarily it's an issue of funding. So like Katie mentioned, the program is funded by private donors, grants, organizations. And, we wanted to focus on, for example, Overfeld High School and San Jose High School, Title I schools in high needs communities. As far as expanding access, we are talking about expanding access. Part of the conversation we had over the summer as we were considering different enrollment options was the choice between, do we want to go deeper into these schools or do we want to expand out to other schools? And you go from, like we saw with Katie, where it was 380 students at San Jose High School to 50 students spread out at different schools. So that is part of the conversation. One of the issues that comes up with that is just staffing concerns. The benefit of being so deep into these schools is with the number of students, it makes it very easy for us to get information from the schools and things of that sort. Once we start getting into lower numbers, then it becomes more difficult to get that same information, even if we have data sharing agreements, and then it's more spreadsheets to process and things of that sort. So we are happy to expand to other schools. If there's a school that you're interested in, please let us know, let Don Coppin know with the San Jose Public Library Foundation, and we can coordinate that with donors and funders and gauge interest in making sure that the opportunities provided to the students at that school are as extensive as they are as the other schools, so we can get as many students as possible.
And I'll add too, Adrian, We also work really closely with the mayor's office on this. This is definitely a priority for the mayor in thinking about a really strategic approach, and also using data and using and working with Stanford and working with the foundation to really come up with a way that's going to be measurable and also sustainable going forward, and is going deeper into those schools and building those relationships. So the other part of the process is that we'll be adding, as Adrian and Katie mentioned in the presentation, new components to that program as we see how students are interacting with those new components, then that's really going to tell us a lot about how we're going to leverage and how we can move out and expand into communities. I can't believe the amount of work that's been done on this in such a short amount of time. And then we know that we have a whole lot more students in the city to serve. So I'm really excited to see where the next year is going to go with the addition of the new tools, and then see where the strategy is going to go. So it's a really great question, Commissioner.
Thank you, Michelle. Other commissioners? So then I just have a couple comments. First, I would want to talk about the Teens Reach program. I was lucky enough on Friday to be invited to the Teens Reach meeting at the Almaden branch as two things. They invited me as a trustee for San Jose Unified with my partner, trustee and commissioner vice chair Magana. And so I wanted to tell you, there were 33 students that were there, and I gave a presentation, and then I also, of course, let them know about the library and our governance, as they were interested in governance. But man, did they put me over the coals around COVID-19 and back to school today, and what was it going to be? I thought they were smart, articulate, thoughtful, great kids that had me thinking, I don't know if I know the answer to that question. And I've been in education 30 years. So I just really want to say what a great job I think the Teens Reach program is doing. I saw it firsthand. So thank you for all of that particular work. And then again, all the rest of it is amazing. I appreciate all the presenters and all the work that you do. I think folks don't know how much the library actually does in other ways in supporting community. And so for all of you who work so hard on it, we really appreciate you and the work that you do and being champions for our communities. All right, are we ready to move? All right, let's move on to, since there's no vote required, our next informational item, which is our COVID-19 service impact and overview with, of course, the wonderful Michelle and Jenny Choi.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So this is a presentation that many of you have seen since last August, so about a year of trying to do regular updates about what the library is doing with regard to serving our communities and the impact that COVID has had. So there's going to be a lot of information here, and happy to answer many questions at the end. Next slide, please. So last year, when we started figuring out or trying to understand how we're going to frame our response to COVID, we decided to take a look broadly at the different planks and the different areas that the library had been working in since we closed in March of 2020. So first area is emergency operations, and then public services. And we'll get into each one of these things. Students and families, and understanding that's a real priority for us, not only during COVID, but at all times, but especially during COVID. And then also digital inclusion, which really came to the forefront and accelerated our work in those areas. Safety operations and communications, we decided that was going to be the sort of bedrock of what it is that we were doing and how we're communicating and supporting our staff, and also communicating with the Library Commission and also with our community. Next slide. So with regard to emergency operations, there has been many different iterations of different projects, different programs and different tasks that many of our staff have had to participate in support of the city's response to COVID-19. These are 4 different areas over the last 16 months now that staff have been working with emergency operations. These different programs and these different tasks all had different lengths of time, different people involved. They were in different parts of the city. They had different priorities, and they also had different levels of urgency. So the first area was really about access and keeping connected. And Jill Bourne, our city librarian, also with Ann Grabowski and the rest of the education digital literacy team, they stood up and ran the city's first ever digital inclusion branch in the EOC. That amount of work is nothing short of incredible with what this team has managed to do. And in fact, recently, as of I think last week, now it's already been that many days, there have been several branches of the EOC which have been reactivated, and digital inclusion branch is one of them. Staff also worked school liaisons. We have a very close relationship with the county education, and working with the different school districts on what we could help provide and also liaise with access needs. I've also had a team of people, early education folks, who are working with childcare and learning pod referrals, especially during last summer and during last school year. With communication and coordination, many of our staff are bilingual, provide absolutely essential translation services. And also we have our team of people who are participating with the EOC with public relations as well and public communications. And then we have a number of people most of these people who work at the branches, some of them in our business office and operations, work in planning and documentation. And with every EOC activity, every EOC action, all of that has to be documented at a citywide level. And there are federal reports requirements that all go with that. In addition, we had staff who were deployed for food distribution. We had staff stand up at moment's notice, cooling, warming centers, clean air centers at different branch libraries. We also had staff do homeless and displaced outreach. In addition, a litany of employee and health safety protocols, which have taken many different iterations through the course year. And also we had a staff who were participating in piloting vaccination phone banking at a citywide level. And we also coordinated vaccination pop-ups at our Tele and Biblioteca branches. Next slide. So I'm going to pivot and talk a little bit about current library services, and we'll come back to a couple of those other things from the beginning slide with the planks. So first of all, I'm really happy to say that as of August 16th, all libraries are open. This is a long time coming, and we had been doing express pickup at all of our locations since May of last year. And we finally transitioned our last major express pickup site on August 2nd, and that was our King Library. So express pickup is complete. So our current library hours here are on the left. And right now, and they are still modified hours as we are still filling a number of vacancies that we've had. So just really happy right now to have all of our libraries open, including Mount Pleasant, which opened up on Monday. Express pickup, we had reported before on what was happening with express pickup and the volume of usage for that service. And this is just to sum it up for the entire time that we were running express service, that we had 217,000 patrons use our service, checking out over 850,000 items. And that was also some walk-ups, but also 55,000 individual appointments. And our team of librarians provided almost 12,000 hours to man rough chat, or to staff rough chat, excuse me, in mail interactions for people that needed help beyond the hours that we were open. And additionally, our small but mighty phone team took in over 11,000 calls last year. Next slide. So I put this slide here, welcome back, because I think it's really important to note how much people love us. And what I mean by that is that our last full week of express pickup, when we had no libraries open where you could come in, we had, quite a few items checked out. 4,900 patrons had come through. But when you look into that third column, the week of August 8th through the 14th, when our last library had opened up for in-person service, we see a huge increase in the number of people coming to see us. So just in that week over week comparison between express pickup and all of our libraries being open, there's a 168% change in the number of items that we have checked out, and also 86% increase in the number of patrons. So that's a real testament to how much people love being inside our libraries. Next slide. So for Library Commission, one of the things that we talk about quite a bit, and it's important, is looking at electronic access and information and materials. Because we were closed for a period of time last year before we started doing express pickup, we made a very intentional decision to assess our collection allocations and our budget, and also look at how we were purchasing e-resources and e-materials. We increased over 1920 fiscal year and 2021 fiscal year our e-material purchases by 89.8%. And the usage of those materials has really been quite significant. For a platform like Overdrive alone, which has e-audiobooks and ebooks, there's a 56% increase in usage. And as we were at the beginning part of the pandemic, and as we were bringing these sort of new additions to our collection off the ground, those percentage increases were even higher. For all of our e-checkouts, in comparison to 1920 versus 2021, we saw a 38.6% increase. And really remarkably, our e-magazine checkouts have increased by 537%. That is due in part to a lot of promotion that the staff has been doing, and also being really diligent and really tenacious to figure out which magazines people need the most if they couldn't get in print anymore. And also to understand that because the publishing industry has changed, there are many different magazines that no longer are available in print, or we can't get them because of distribution issues, especially for magazines in other languages. And we also started our e-card program. And before the pandemic, we didn't have an e-card. You came in, you got a library card in a traditional way, and then you would have access to all of the e-materials. But we started an e-card program, and we have maintained consistently since we started this a 75% active user rate for our e-cards, which is really impressive. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to introduce Carla Alvarez. She is our manager of equity inclusion, and she's going to talk us through a bit about what we have developed during this last year with equity and inclusion services, and also support with schools.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. It's my pleasure to speak to you and share some of the many projects that we've been working on programmatically and also structurally to advance equity and inclusion services, first of all. As you recall, we've mentioned in the past that the library's racial equity team, established in January 2020, includes 17 staff members from various racial and ethnic backgrounds and positions across the library system. This past year, the group has undertaken a number of projects, including hosting learning and healing sessions that were open to all staff and occasionally invited guest speakers. They also recently completed a review of our security procedures and recommended a training approach with a trauma-informed lens that will be shared with the library's recently established Safety and Security Committee. This summer, the RET also launched affinity groups along racial ethnic identity groups as a space to encourage peer support, team building, decompression, and identify opportunities for further staff training. This spring, nearly half of the RET members also took part in a workshop series on creating an anti-racist library, as well as other racial equity workshops, which staff have used and continue to use the tools and activities learned through those spaces to carry out its work. The Disabilities Access Committee, also at the library, recently launched a new section on our website, which outlines materials, programs, services, and adaptive technology offered by SJPL to people with disabilities. We are excited to share we now have a library by mail service available, which provides books and other library materials to SJPL members of all ages living in the city of San Jose for individuals who are unable to visit the library due to a temporary or permanent physical disability. We're also in the process of completing a survey to further understand the needs of our community of all abilities. This past year, the staff developed a new survey and data collection system to better understand who we are serving through our programming. This survey will capture the languages, ages, zip codes, gender identity, and racial ethnic identity of the community members we are serving, so that staff may begin to cross-compare against local demographic information, such as the City of San Jose's Equity Atlas, to better understand our reach and identify areas of opportunity in our programming. As we've presented throughout the pandemic, the SJ Access Initiative has played a key role in bridging the digital divide in San Jose. Equity was at the center of these efforts, and our team has been collecting information throughout all of these months about the community's digital device and skill building needs since last year. We have reached many multilingual digital literacy learners who appreciate the access of this learning opportunity and constantly express this with every round of digital literacy cohorts that we go through, because they appreciate having the opportunity to learn in their native language at a time when tech skills are so vital to access work, services, and other public programs. This coming fall, we look forward to working with our ad hoc committee to develop the quality standards for equity, diversity, and inclusion, and develop the framework through which we will evaluate our programming in support of removing barriers and working towards equitable outcomes for all. Next slide. We recently concluded, and moving on to other areas of programming because there's so much to cover as well. We recently concluded our Summer Learning Challenge, which encourages readers of all ages to meet goals and participate in activities throughout June and July. All of those under 18 years received book prizes. And we also partnered with the Readiness Camp San Jose to include 600 of their students. Work to Future welcomed new groups of youth who spent the spring focused on media and marketing projects, while 20 students spent the summer working on social, emotional, and real-world skills building. Next slide, please. This past year in the summer and spring, we hosted a variety of events. And so we'd like to share some of the highlights that resonated with our community members. So we hosted SB Reads and a variety of events between February and March, including author and illustrator visits from the book, Maybe Something Beautiful, hosted in Spanish and in English, and including a guest art workshop hosted by the illustrator. Short Edition shares stories from local and international writers, and emerging and experienced writers alike are welcome to submit their stories as we host the short story portal in our library system. PAR, Partners in Reading, published a collection of stories written by adult literacy learners called The Bright Side. We were pleased to celebrate 11 graduates from Career Online High School earlier this month, including a mother and son who completed their education goals together and were able to graduate and have that moment. The Family Learning Centers organized a string of speaker series to highlight Black history, women's history, and AAPI Heritage Months. The community was able to hear from a range of speakers, including entrepreneurs, filmmakers, psychologists, and doctors. And SJPL Works Women Back to Work series is going strong, currently hosting between 15 to 20 women who are attending the current cohort series. SJPL staff also organized a variety of resource sharing programming requested by the community, which includes a Back to Cool August series featuring guest speakers and library resources for elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and individualized education plans. A session on COVID-19 rent relief. In an effort to address vaccine hesitancy, staff worked with the Santa Clara County Public Health Department to host a Q&A session on questions and concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine. And it was bilingual, offered in English and Spanish. And we also recently hosted an electricity bill assistance program and resources hosted with San Jose Clean Energy for those who may be struggling to pay during the pandemic. Next slide, please. Our focus to serve students and families is of pivotal importance, And summer lunch was offered at 7 libraries, yielding to 11,880 students served. 816 youth participated in Camp San Jose Strong and Rock and Learn at the libraries. And our Friends and Family Network Workforce Development Program has been vital also to include reach families in the community. As you can see from the table below, we have offered 7,333 programs and with an attendance of 129,322. Next. Last but not least, our school partnerships and student support are going strong. Student library cards, we now have 81,189 active cards from 14 different local education agencies. So we're adding more and more to those student library card numbers. We also now have 205 educator library cards for educators from preschool and K through 12 levels. And our student hotspots now include 6,000 hotspots distributed for this coming fall with 25 local education agencies. And Virtual Homework Club was hosted Tuesday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. We held 113 sessions since August 31st, 2020. That included 1,862 students, so 206 of which were unduplicated, with 2,291 volunteers with an average daily attendance of 17 students. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it on to Anne Grabowski, who's going to share more about our digital equity work.
All right, next slide, please, Danica. Hi, everyone. For many of you, this is a refresh of past presentations, but I'll spend a little bit more time for those of you that maybe haven't followed the work as closely or for as long. Like Michelle mentioned, the library's been kind of the fundamental and default digital inclusion department and operation for the city, just by way of being open and being the largest provider of free Wi-Fi in Northern California. And then the pandemic happened and we needed Wi-Fi elsewhere. So as we stood up the digital inclusion branch, our work really segmented into 3 large categories with multiple projects under each category. Last year, we stood up in the matter of like 6 weeks, stood up 15,800 hotspots that were procured through AT&T. 12,800 of those were distributed directly to our student households through partnerships with 32 local education agencies. As Carla mentioned on the last slide, we've been informed by 25 of those local education agencies that they need a little over 6,000 hotspots this year. So as learning is changing and the format of learning is changing, we're seeing digital access needs changing. So we are continuing this year with 6,000, a little over 6,000 hotspots, 6,160 to be very precise. We set 3,000 of those hotspots out through our branches. So members of the general public could access those hotspots. We are working to expand hotspot access through SJPL to a specific set aside of 4,500 youth hotspots that will have internet filters on them, and an additional 1,200 on top of our 3,000, so 4,200 unfiltered hotspots available to the general public. And we're doing that because our hotspots are 100% checked out and has been over 90% checked out for months on months on months. In addition to hotspots and digital connectivity devices, we are also circulating computing devices, which we'll go over on a future slide. Moving from mobile devices, we are also building hardwired community Wi-Fi networks, which is a very interesting project for the library to lead. We are learning every day on the infrastructure side. We have a partnership with Eastside Union High School District to build 8 attendance area networks. So they're 8 neediest attendance areas, so to speak. We have 3 networks that are currently in operation. We are building 3, we are moving into construction phases for Independence, Oak Grove, and Andrew P. Hill. And we are in the design phases for Mount Pleasant and Silver Creek attendance areas. We can go into further detail if you have questions about those Those are longer term projects that we've expedited, and we'll have those 3 that are moving into construction will turn online before June of 2020, which is a very fast turnaround for building an outdoor community Wi-Fi network. All of those are progressing on schedule. When we turn all 8 on at once, we believe we will have reached 305,000 people with free Wi-Fi services, which is fairly incredible. Moving into the affordability category, many of you are probably very aware of the subsidized plans or low rate internet plans that are available either directly through telecommunications partners or through the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. So we at the city continue to leverage and utilize all channels of information to push that information out to the general public to make them aware, both in broad messaging and also targeted messaging in our programs. We've also distributed and will continue to distribute laptops that have been donated through laptop donation drives to the library, and may consider doing future drives depending on what the need looks like in the future. I know many of you supported our holiday laptop donation drive last year, and we were able to refurbish 325 devices and distribute those to members of the community in need. So thank you very much for that. And then moving into the last leg of the digital inclusion stool, which is adoption and actually getting someone the skills and the capability to be on an affordable internet plan. We continue to manage and develop digital literacy programming. We continue to identify families through our existing programs that need additional support and are continuing to support them to move into low cost or free broadband internet plans. We are also a recipient of the Digital Inclusion Fund grant that's managed by CETF, the California Emerging Technology Foundation, or fund, and continue to do work with them. All of this, of course, requires us to adapt and change to new federal and state funding sources and also regulations, resources, and programs. Next slide, please. I'm not going to read this slide. There's a ton of information on this slide. It's really, the main message of this slide is people need our devices, and we know that because they're using them at a very high rate. So as of today, we continue to be 100% checked out for our AT&T Wi-Fi hotspots. Like I said, we're growing that collection to 4,200 devices in the mid-fall timeframe. We've had that collection has been checked out nearly 10,000 times, so used by a new family 10,000 times since we started circulating in September of 2020, which is incredible. We already talked about the youth hotspots. We already talked about computing devices. We are, Carla and her team have launched in-person tech support at Biblioteca Latinoamericana, which is hosted outdoors. They started that this month. So doing a lot of in-person and on Zoom troubleshooting, basic sleuthing and problem solving of connectivity issues, talking to people about affordable internet and giving information about how to sign up for the emergency broadband benefit if that's appropriate. Next slide. And then actually we will just leave this for posterity and for more information. We've talked through most of this. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. And I believe it's back to Carla.
Nope, I think it's me.
There we go.
All right. So just as we wrap up here, just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight that we have coming through the rest of the summer, which is quickly waning, and then also into early fall. We have our graphic novel making contest that is coming up next weekend, I believe. So I'm super excited about that. In October, we will be doing an Apple Coding 5K boot camp for SJ Aspire students during fall break. And then we're also continuing with our virtual homework club and doing traditional library things like Halloween week book giveaway. I'm also with digital literacy, like Carla and Ann have mentioned, continuing with digital literacy classes, and also doing community conversations around SJ access and digital inclusion and adoption needs. And then each time we're doing this update, trying to highlight some different programs that we have throughout the library. And so this time I chose to highlight, since we had just talked about college and career readiness, that we have our weekly SJPL Works programs with a variety of skill building for people. Anybody can participate. And also, we don't just do this in English or just in Spanish, but we also do this in Chinese as well. So there'll be a virtual job search for beginners in Chinese coming up. Next slide. So some of the next steps as we're moving into fall, and there are quite a few things that we do have coming up and going on. As I mentioned before, we are actively working to fill our vacancies. And every week, every 2 weeks, and we do have new people coming on board. And these are mostly our public services folks, so the people that you see when you go into the libraries. So those positions are getting filled. And as we fill our positions, then we will be looking at expanding our service hours. And then also we'll be looking at expanding our community room usage and then our indoor programming. So we anticipate that we will still be doing a lot of virtual programming and looking at doing some hybrid pieces there. And then also we will be doing some community feedback and looking at the data around what our hours are going to be at the locations that are listed here. They will have reduced hours through this next fiscal year. So there'll be more information to come on that. And you'll see some publicity that will also go out with that too, as we're trying to get feedback from our communities. And then also we have some service enhancements coming up. We are looking at being able to install lockers at several, well, more than several of our locations, quite a few. So that way people have access 24 hours a day to pick up their holds. And then also we are doing a pilot program at Village Square called Open Plus, which we received as part of a grant from the state of California, and also Khalifa, which is a library nonprofit that works a lot with different vendors, like a Biblioteca, who is a vendor of library materials and also library systems. And then also with the state library, where Open Plus is really going to be able to provide more access to people outside of our open hours, so maybe an hour or two before we open in the morning, and people can come in and use the library. So we are in the finishing stages of setting up the infrastructure for this pilot program. We're really excited to be able to use this and try this out at this location, as we are constantly trying to envision what new services and what modifications we can make to make our services and all of our materials more available and accessible. And leading into that, we're also looking at a mobile app. So that way, when you come into the library, if you have a device, you could use a mobile app to check out materials. So that's also coming. Really anxious and excited about using that and teaching people how to use that technology. And then lastly, wireless printing. We're working on a sort of a citywide level with other departments that are also looking at implementing wireless printing. So that will be coming online sometime this fiscal year as well. Next slide. And that's it. And we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So I want to offer any comments from the public. If you want to have a public comment, please raise your hand now. Danica will let us know. Anybody, Danica?
No hands from the public.
All right. Commissioners, please, if you would like to make comment, questions, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. I see Commissioner Kelly.
Sitting right here. Thank you so much for that presentation. That's great information to have. One question about that comes up regularly in my background with the library, and that has to do with the availability of the Friends groups opening up. I haven't seen anything come on that. Can you clarify that or give us any later information?
Definitely, Commissioner. So one of the things that Jill and Jenny and I are working on with the city is how we are managing bringing volunteers back into the library and what this processes look like from a safe workplaces point of view. So as soon as we sort that out with the city and with our EOC team, then we'll have more information. I know the Friends are really eager to come back to the library. We're eager to have the Friends back in the library and to have the book sales and to have the fellowship. So there'll be more information soon. And I'm hoping that before we have our next All Friends meeting, which I believe is the 5th Saturday in October, be able to provide more information. And we're trying to do some regular updates to the All Friends group too. And I sent one out earlier this week just to touch base and to let people know that it's coming and we're working on it.
Great, thank you. Is that satisfying for you, Commissioner Kelly? Anything else before I move on to Commissioner Zisser?
No.
Okay.
It does not. October is really late. And my understanding of the All Friends group is that they're not really functioning well at this point. So I would certainly appreciate quicker information in October. You know, as a commissioner, it's difficult not to be able to answer those questions when they come up. So if anything comes up quicker, we would really appreciate it. We have all kinds of libraries that have all kinds of material that have been donated in the past. And at the very least, we need to get in there and straighten out that material and get rid of some of the clutter that the Friends group have created at the libraries simply because they had to pull it off. So any help that the library can provide in providing access for the Friends groups quicker than October would be greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Oh, as soon as I get that info, I will let everybody know. Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Zisser, it's your turn.
Thanks. I mean, what a great first meeting. Boy, have the staff set an extremely high bar for themselves. That was an incredible presentation. So many topics. I am just blown away by so much of it. The equity stuff, I can only imagine the infrastructure challenges, but I am in all of those. The reopening, which my family is personally grateful for, although we, I think, accounted for a couple 100,000 of the 850,000 checkouts during COVID. But great numbers, great information. I can see why the library system is so impressive. What a great team you have. Just really thrilling. I do have a few questions. I am curious if there is demographic information about the change, the usage of the library, particularly if there's sort of a breakdown between in-person versus pickup, if that's something that, are we seeing an increase in lower income users now that we're back in person? Is it easier for certain communities to utilize the library that way? Is there information on that you can share in some form?
I definitely can provide that information, and we can look at some point in time data, and also, you know, week over week, especially with the lower resourced communities. And then we can also, I can put it in a table and I can share it with the commission.
I think that would be really interesting, and you know, just seeing which branches benefit the most from which communities around the branches benefit the most by being back in person, I think would be incredibly useful data. I should have asked a sort of a threshold question. I mean, are the numbers that we're seeing now that we're back in person sort of consistent with what we were seeing pre-COVID? Did we have a huge drop during COVID in utilization of the library services as a result of not having the in-person option?
Yeah, there was definitely a decrease, you know, with that, because, you know, so many of our communities and people in our communities, you know, they want to come and be in the library, and they're there for programs and they're there for tech access. So, you know, people use the library for all kinds of reasons. And so basically we're looking at this data here that I provide with the usage. It's literally looking at, you know, people who are checking out, and then also the items that are checked out, because that was the metric, that was the constant, you know, with COVID starting and being express pickup and then moving into in-person.
And then just similar question as before about, you mentioned a lot of different programs, but a couple I circled were the summer learning program, which my kids participated in a little bit, and the student library cards. Those were a couple that I circled. But again, I would be interested, I know you're not going to do this for every program, but it would be interesting to get some data about who's participating in that. I mean, I know my family gets a huge benefit out of these things. I'm very interested to know whether people who have less in the way of resources are getting the benefit of those programs. Just one program you mentioned that you sort of skipped over because you were going through a lot. I'm just curious about what the virtual volunteer opportunities was referring to. There was a line about virtual volunteer opportunities, 1,100 volunteers, 31,000 hours. What are those? What is that?
So that is not just for, it's for adults and it's for teens. And so this virtual volunteerism is everything from hosting, let's say, a Zoom program. So it could be, it's a DIY or something like that. So we've got program volunteers that do that. We also have people who are helping with homework help and the virtual homework clubs. And then also we have a lot of teams that are working with whether it's like short story creation or content creation. So it's sort of as a variety of things that we have our virtual volunteers do. So we're really trying to figure out ways that we keep people engaged and that we don't lose connection. And also we have tech volunteers too. So we have some folks that are doing that as well.
Got it. Great. Last question. You mentioned reduced hours at a few of the branches. I guess two questions. One is are you saying hours will be reduced beyond what they're already at, or that you'll continue with the reduced hours? And then my last question is why? I have a feeling I know why, but why those branches as opposed to other branches?
That's a really great question. So with this new fiscal year and with the budget that was passed, those locations are locations that won't be fully funded to previous COVID hours. So they will be reduced on average 4 hours per week. And we used an equity tool and data to identify which areas were lower resourced versus higher resourced. And so those are those libraries that were part of that.
And so presumably those are the libraries that have the least impact in terms of diversity, serving a diverse population.
Right.
Okay. And which is basically what I was imagining was the reason. And I think that makes a whole lot of sense. And just so I'm absolutely clear, are you talking about reducing another 4 hours or beyond? Because right now, for example, Santa Teresa, like all the branches are 1 to 6 in the afternoon. Are you talking about reducing those branches another 4 hours less beyond what's already being provided?
Okay, so what we're looking at doing, so for example, once, let's say we have all of our vacancies are filled, we're back and we can open the libraries that are fully funded. So let's say those would be restored back to, we would resume hours at 47 hours a week.
Okay.
And those libraries that are not funded fully, we would be looking at average 43 hours per week.
Okay. All right, that's still pretty good. Okay.
Yeah. So
great.
more than what we have now.
Yeah, no, that helps me. That's not very worrisome at all. Okay, well, thank you again. I mean, and thanks for answering those questions so easily. You obviously have all this information off the top of your head, and I appreciate it. Again, I'm so grateful for what you all do. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Thorson.
Thanks so much for such an excellent presentation. I've been on the commission a while now, so I know that even during regular times, the work you do is impressive, but what you did this past year is really amazing. I was curious, and it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about in terms of the budget. So right now, because of the vacancies and the kind of reduced hours across the board, there hasn't been an impact yet because the funding was not fully restored, and just wanted to confirm that, or if there has already been any impact yet because the funding hasn't been fully restored.
Do you mean as far as like with the positions and what we can hire back?
Yeah, and just an impact on the services the library can offer, because I really don't want us to forget that we lost that funding, and that the funding for the 13 branches is not permanent funding. It's only for this year. So I just want to try and keep that present in the mind of my council member, and make sure that we're prepared going into the budget process for next year with just the data to back up that we really need the full funding restored, if not more.
Right. So to answer your question, Commissioner, one of the things that Vidya Colombi and the education team have been, and the programming team have been working on is looking at our programming models, because we know that we can't be everywhere at once. So that's one of the things that we're looking at is how are we going to balance the programmatic needs for our different communities. So that's, one way that there will be some changes, probably going forward with that. So really trying to look at things systematically, using data, and also trying to align ourselves with our quality standards to make sure that we're hitting all the targets there, but making sure that we have things covered. So that would be one of the things, and one of the iterations that we're really working through. And then also the other thing too, like I mentioned, we're looking at enhanced service. So being able to provide that access to, say, lockers, so you can pick up your holds 24 hours a day, things like that, to really try to be sure that we can reach people.
That all for you, Commissioner Thorson?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. Commissioner Mendoza.
Thank you. Well, again, wonderful presentation. I love all the new programs that are coming in, the library by mail, hearing all of the hotspots that are checked out, and the new ones coming. Just all very, very exciting information to hear. I just have a quick question about, you mentioned the Open Plus pilot program. That's my first time hearing about it. So I just wanted to get a little bit more details as to what the goal would be of that program. How would you measure if it was successful or not to implement in other libraries?
That's a great question. So we're really excited about this. So what this essentially would look like, practically, is that once the system is installed, it's essentially sort of a sensor type system. Then you, as a user of the library, specifically Village Square, you would register, come in the library, you would sign up and register to have that access before hours. And then you could come in and you could browse material, you can check out. So it's very, very much self-service. And this has been piloted in a number of different places, and specifically Southern California. And there are a number of libraries, I believe there's a ton of them, that were awarded the state grant to do this pilot program. And so we're all sort of starting this at once. So one of the metrics that I'll be looking at is obviously there's going to be usage to see if it affects one, circulation, to see what kind of foot traffic that we're getting. And then I will have staff there also, they'll be doing their behind the scenes work. They're prepping for the day. So there will be staff there. So we should have some idea about how people are also using that space. I think the thing too is trying to understand where maybe people's usage patterns are different. And perhaps, we've heard anecdotally, at least through other libraries, that sort of patterns could be changing because of COVID, and people are doing things a little bit differently or spending their time differently. So I'm really curious about that, is to see if we would have different kind of traffic in the morning. For example, is this an ideal time to be open for people to come in, run and get their items, let's say before they drop their kids off at school or before they go to work in the morning? And I'm really curious about that. So I have a division manager, Michelle Morris, that is leading the project, and she'll be developing those metrics. And then we'll be reporting on that probably sometime in the winter, probably early 2022.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions, comments from commissioners? I'm looking, going once, twice, 3 times. I only have obviously I want to express gratitude for, I mean, everyone said it, but it's just so true that the work that the library system has done above and beyond the normal call of duty during the pandemic is, we can't even talk about how amazing it is, because it's so supportive of our community. And and more specifically, I wanted to say, of course, in the teen group at Almaden that I was at last Friday, not only were they talking about certainly COVID for schools, but they really wanted to understand what we were doing about permanent Wi-Fi infrastructure. And so I was again blown away by the level of discussion that the freshmen through, they were high schoolers, some 8th graders, 8th grade through 12th grade had on asking the adults in their lives to fix their issue. And so I just thought that they were doing a great job pushing their elected to pay attention to things that were important to them. So the work that you're doing to support the teens is commendable. They're a spectacular group, and I really hope we keep that volunteer program moving forward and recruiting more kids towards it. Okay, we're ready to move on to the next item. Thank you again for your participation. We have Mariela's here from Councilwoman Readiness's office. So Mariela, take it away.
That's right. Thank you so much, Chair Wendy. Hello, my name is Mariela Garcia. I'm a council assistant with Councilwoman Readiness's office. And first, I wanted to extend a warm welcome to Commissioners Ramos, Kelly, and Scissor. Thank you for joining us. I have just one announcement today. Councilmember Readiness wanted to ensure that an invitation was extended to you all for the upcoming joint special meeting on child well-being. And so this joint meeting is between the County of Santa Clara's Children, Seniors, and Families Committee, and also the City of San Jose's Neighborhood Services and Education Committee, and Committee of the Whole, which means that all council members are invited to participate. And so this joint special meeting on child well-being will be an opportunity to hear from representatives from the Santa Clara County Office of Education, also the County of Santa Clara and the City of San Jose on what available and upcoming funding sources exist that local governments can utilize to invest in childcare, in early education, and in other child well-being programs. And so an update is also going to be provided on the state of the childcare and early education systems in Santa Clara County to the end of identifying gaps, needs, and opportunities, and public comment will also be welcome at the meeting. And so the joint meeting is going to be tentatively taking place on Thursday, September 9th, from 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And I say tentatively because we're very close to confirming that as a rescheduled date. So for now, just wanted to ask you to save the date. And that was, again, September 9th from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. This meeting was originally scheduled for August 26th. So please note that it is that same meeting, and we will be emailing you a formal invitation. And we wanted to, of course, invite the public as well. And that is all from me. Thank you so much. And I'll be in touch soon with more details.
Thank you, Mariela. That is great. I think many of us will be there, and we appreciate the council members' focus on children and families in the city. Let's see, chair's announcement. It's been a long summer. I can't believe we've been apart since June. Wow. But I just have a few things to talk about. One is for San Jose Unified. It was our first day back to school in person after 18 months. And I really want to thank and talk about people in education have been working on overdrive. They have the district staff, the teachers, the principals, the custodians, the bus drivers, all repurposed and did other jobs that were above and beyond their regular call of duty during the pandemic. And now they're back in action in their normal capacity. Went off brilliantly, successfully. And I think you all know my daughter-in-law is a kindergarten teacher at Los Alamitos, and she was so happy to have her kindergartners with her today. She's a joyous person that needs kids around her. So they had a great first day, and I just want to know that your partner at San Jose Unified really put in the work to get this done today. The other thing I wanted to share with the group that really has to do with children and families, in particular in the city of San Jose, is the Board of Supervisors met last night for 5 hours around the Hillview Reed Airport lead study. And the effects of it on children, which I think we all know innately that lead and children are poisonous. And so the work around having all 5 Board of Supervisors agree. Thank you. 5 hours and 6 minutes. I'm sure you were there, Angelica. The work that was done around this very hot issue in listening to community, there were over, at the end at midnight, there were 300 people still on the line listening at midnight. So that being said, they voted at a 5-0 with a bunch of amendments, basically to say, and certainly Angelica, correct me, that they will begin a 2-pronged approach or a concurrent approach to abating the airport by only requiring only unleaded fuel by December 31st be used. And then they'll begin the process, which will be lengthy, with the intent to close the airport. Certainly, they'll be working, I suspect, against the FAA and EPA as they begin the process of abatement, and then making sure that children and community is not being poisoned by lead. So from a point of view of an advocate for children and families, and certainly all the partners I know, we're very happy about this particular outcome. So we were there as well. So I wanted to share that from the chair's announcements. Our next is our library director, Jill. We're so happy you're here. Your announcements are next.
Thank you, Chair Wendy, and good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I was double booked this evening. I actually was at an in-person event, which was actually kind of odd, but I'm really happy to see you all. I also want to extend my welcome to our new commissioners, Kelly, Ramos, and Zisser, and welcome back to our returning commissioners. We very much appreciate that you all commit your time to working with us and advising the library and education matters over the next year. We have a lot of work ahead of us still, and we hope that you will engage with us as much as you're able to. So starting off with my announcements, on July 28th, we hosted a ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate the opening of the new and coolest hangout spot for families with children ages 0 to 5, the We Explore Play Space at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library. Library staff was joined by our council member, Raul Perales, our partners, the San Jose Public Library Foundation and the Sharks Foundation, and students from a local preschool. The We Explore Play Space is located in the children's room at the main library, and it offers kids the opportunity to learn through open-ended play and exploration. This space includes large interactives, colorful structures that reflect an underwater theme, infused with San Jose Sharks paraphernalia, such as hockey sticks, pucks, even game tickets, and underwater sharks as well. And so you have to see if you can find as many as possible. Families can visit the space Monday from 1 to 6 p.m. and Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It was truly a wonderful event. It was totally made possible in part by the generosity from the Sharks Foundation and the San Jose Public Library Foundation. So for more information on the space, you can go to sjpl.org/weexplore. And next, as we predicted at our June meeting, we're pleased to announce that the library will be transitioning to act as lead department in supporting the city's youth commission. So the Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services Department has traditionally managed the Youth Commission. And as they were being asked to take over 2 other commissions recently, we offered to take on the Youth Commission, which is something that we had talked about before. It makes a lot of sense given the role the library plays in coordinating with schools and local education agencies. So as we transition to our meetings in November, we hope to create a stronger nexus and interaction between this commission and the Youth Commission. So more to come on that. Next, we need your help. So we would like you to take a moment to vote for the San Jose Public Library to help us get selected to present at the 2022 South by Southwest Education Conference, where we would showcase the work that we've done in the SJ Access Digital Equity Program and the innovative partnerships we have with our local schools. So voting is very easy. All you have to do is sign in and create an account. And I think Anne is going to put the link in the chat. So make sure to copy that. Step 2 is once you've signed in, you have to go over to the South by Southwest panel picker site. And we're going to provide that link as well. And then you cast your vote by voting up our topic. The voting does end on Thursday, August 26th. So any support you can provide us over the next week and a half, we would greatly appreciate it. As you know, the SJ Access program was intended to provide our community with all things digital, including Wi-Fi hotspots, iPads, laptops, and digital literacy courses to combat the San Jose digital divide. Next, we had our most recent, Danica's providing the links right now. We had our most recent Career Online High School graduation. We had our 7th graduation ceremony that was on August 5th. This was the, I think, 2nd that we've had in a virtual environment, maybe 3rd. And during the pandemic, we had 11 students attended the graduation ceremony, and then afterwards had the opportunity to talk with small groups of supporters about their experience in the program and their future plans and career goals. So since this program began in 2016, we've had 122 adult learners been able to earn their high school diploma through the Career Online High School, as well as a certificate in a high demand field. So if you are interested in learning more about Career Online High School, please visit sjpl.org/PAR for Partners in Reading. And then the San Jose Public Library will be proudly participating in Silicon Valley Pride on Sunday, August 29th. Library staff will be marching in the parade together with other city departments down Market Street and distributing Library Pride swag to parade spectators. Afterwards, the Maker Spaceship will be hosting family-friendly activities as the Pride Day Festival in Plaza de Cesar Chavez Park. And the parade starts at 10 a.m. and the day festival will run from 12 to 6 p.m. So to learn more about that, visit svpride.com. And then lastly, I wanted to comment in response to the question about Friends access in our buildings. This is an area that our department has been advocating for many months, actually since before reopening for in-person services. And it's a subject to the city's emergency operations approval process, like all of the different services that we've been able to provide. So any advocacy that the Friends can initiate as you advise your council members or et cetera could assist in our efforts to have Friends activities approved through that process. I will definitely take your comments back to the city manager's office, and as Michelle said, we will get an update to share with all Friends as soon as possible. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Well, that must mean it was totally thorough, Jill. Thank you for that. Moving on, we have no youth commissioner update, but we do have I'm wanting to offer up to commissioners a chance to make any announcements where you participated in things as a library and education commissioner that you'd like to share with the group. So are there anybody? Oh, I see hands going up. My goodness, right on. Okay, Commissioner Allen, you're up.
Hi, I was able to attend the virtual career online high school graduation. It's one of my favorite things to attend as a library commissioner, and I'm always heartened by the students' stories and their achievements. I was especially moved by the mother-son duo who completed their high school education together. So that was extremely exciting for us and for their family. So I wanted to congratulate all of the graduates, and I look forward to attending the next one, hopefully in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Others that want to share with folks places that they attended as library commissioners? Going once, twice, 3 times. That's great. I just want to highlight, because we had this conversation in the San Jose Unified School District Board, the work that Commissioner Magana has done to ensure that library cards are in the San Jose Unified School District. It just came up in our conversations, and as a new board member, I was listening to Jose talk about it, and I was so proud to know how that work got done as a commissioner and a trustee. So thank you, Vice Chair. I really appreciate that work for our kids. Okay, let's keep moving. We are, Commissioner Thorson, would you like to have the floor to have some conversation around the Library Foundation? Please.
Hello. Yes, a lot has already been talked about, like the We Explore Play Space, the ribbon cutting that happened very recently, and is really exciting because actually, like, one of the last events that I brought my daughter to was the groundbreaking at the end of January of 2020. So it's really wonderful that that space is now open. So, and as Jill had mentioned, funded by the Sharks Foundation and the San Jose Public Library Foundation. Another really exciting development for the foundation is that the new Resilience Corps Manager, Yesenia Ramos, has been hired. And as was previously mentioned in the meeting, she'll be working with the 50 college students who will be part of the Resilience Corps program. And they'll be working with K through 12 students, either at the library, Parks and Recreation Department, or a partner nonprofit. And they are still recruiting. So if you know of any college students who would be interested, definitely recommend the program to them. And then we've already talked about the really successful Career Online High School graduation. And so my last point to mention is that the foundation strategic planning process is underway with interviews scheduled with stakeholders. And one of them is Commission Chair Wendy. So we're looking forward to having the stakeholders weigh in on the future planning process for the Library Foundation. And that's all. And oh, I should say, since there are some new people, if you are interested in following the work of the San Jose Public Library Foundation, you can find them on Facebook, and they regularly share updates and fun photos from events and success stories. So I highly recommend liking them on Facebook to keep up to date.
Thank you so much for your continued work crossing the foundation and the Library Commission, Commissioner Thorson. All right, we're moving on to information and upcoming opportunities for participation. Of course, we have our sjpl.org, but are there any folks, either staff or commissioners, that want to highlight and promote any activities that are upcoming for us to know? I'm looking around. All right, then folks know to go to our website for activities and opportunities to participate as commissioners. Moving on, I am asking if there are any items that commissioners would like to offer for future agenda items. If you have an item, you can raise your hand and I will call on you. All right, we're moving right along. Our next meeting is scheduled and will be held virtually on September 15th at 7 p.m. And at this point, we'll adjourn our first meeting of this year, at this fiscal year. So thank you. Oh, let's see, Angelica, before I adjourn, you have your hand up.
Sorry, I do have a process question since I am new. Do we, I have quickly realized that this is obviously staffed by library staff. And so I'm not trying to ask for anyone to do any additional work. I just wanted to make sure I'm not missing anything, that there is no packet that gets sent out, and that the week prior to a meeting, I should just make sure I check the website for a packet, correct?
Danica, we were just talking, there's a couple things. Thank you, Commissioner Ramos. We have a couple things that happen, just so you know. We have a schedule that we work on to say what items are coming up in what months, some of the standard reporting out. And so that you can, we can make sure you have, if you haven't gotten it in your package for orientation. We do always send out a memo and the agenda to all commissioners at your commission email address in advance. So certainly reading and preparing for that. And then process question, we'll talk to staff about the suggestions that came earlier today around PowerPoints out early and data. We have a planning session with Jill and Danica and the vice chair, myself, each month. And so we'll talk about that in our next meeting. But yes, you will get all that stuff in your email. Does that answer what you're looking for, Commissioner?
Yes, you did mention orientation packet though, and I am unaware of any such. So I just want to make sure I'm not missing that.
Yeah, short answer is you should get a package in advance, and we will we'll work to make sure that everything's in there. And then the second is that we will be scheduling an orientation with you.
Got it.
With all of the new commissioners.
And I will also add that the calendar invite that goes out for each commission is updated with the packet in case the packet, escapes from your email somehow, which happens to me sometimes. So if you can't find it, it's in the calendar invite at least a week before.
And there's also 2 online locations where you can always find the agenda at least 1 week before is required. And that is on our Library Commission webpage, which I can drop a link into the chat for, and also on the San Jose Legistar page, which is where you actually can find all of the other meeting body agendas. And again, I'll put that in the chat as well.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's how I was able to find the agenda before. Do you need my email address, or is that does that come from my application, or?
You'll be, I'm sure the staff can talk about this, but as part of your orientation, you'll be assigned an email address that will give you all of the library email. So you'll have another email address assigned to you and to all the new commissioners.
Great, thank you so much.
Yep. All right, Commissioner Zisser.
Yeah, thank you. I know you already went past items for future commission meetings, but since you're talking about the schedule and whatnot, a question and a comment. I think, there were so many topics presented tonight, and I think, I commented on a number of them, and I think that should be taken as interest in delving deeper into those topics that I highlighted. I would love to get sort of, a real solid chunk on different programs, on the race and equity work, on all sorts of stuff that the staff summarized today. really well. But and I guess my question related to that is, what is the process, Chair Wendy, for sort of sketching out topics and meetings? I imagine y'all might have had a retreat or something ahead of this fiscal year and sort of sketched out your priorities, but I'm wondering sort of when the next opportunity to sort of think globally about that would be, and what our roles in that would look like, if any.
For sure. And again, I know you'll get all this in the orientation. So don't worry. I'm going to give a quick, just kind of the quick, and then the staff can give you the exact dates. But we do once a year certainly create a work plan. Thank you, Commissioner Allen. And we do it in a specific time frame that hits the fiscal year. We lay out not only the agenda items that are necessary, like our audits and things like that we are actually responsible for the oversight of, but also then kind of trended topics that seem to happen during the cycle of the library. You're always also welcome to, thanks, Commissioner Jolly. You're also welcome to, as I offer an opportunity for items each meeting, if you have interest, we will take your requests, and in our planning meeting, we'll discuss it and we'll get back to you on when we could or how we could, or how it can show up in our meetings since we meet monthly. And then we do a retreat. That is correct. You are right. Where we're talking through our strategic plan, objectives and goals, and the things that we're working on. We also have subcommittees. We have some ad hoc committees and other work committees where you could delve deep in an area that you are interested in. And those, I'm sure, in your orientation will also be laid out, and we build some along the way. So I'm sure you'll be interested in some of the quality indicators that have to do with race and equity and inclusion. So they've been going on for quite some time and doing great work. Jill, did I get it all for the high level overview?
Yeah, essentially it's a work plan. You can always add, and when we do your orientation, you'll see that and you'll have an opportunity to ask us more questions. Today was more of an overview because of the COVID response piece, but hopefully in the future, there'll be more in-depth.
That was great. It was a great way to introduce the new folks. So I actually think it was perfect. And the last thing I'll say, Chair Wendy, is as my first meeting, I just want to give you kudos for a really well-run meeting, and thank you for, obviously, as the chair, you do an enormous amount of work. I can see that, and you're very dedicated, and I appreciate how this went. And I'm sorry if my verbosity caused any delays, but I'm just excited and interested. So thanks for running this meeting so nicely.
Oh, thank you. No, we're very happy to have you all here. And we're all a pretty fun bunch, and we have our own areas of interest. So some will get more verbose in their certain areas. You'll see as you are with us for a longer term. Danica, thank you for putting all of those in the chat for everyone. And if are there any other questions before I adjourn us? All right, everyone, have a great month. We'll work on our agenda. Thank you for the new commissioners joining, and everyone have a great time. We are adjourned at 9:08 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hi, guys.
It was a long meeting.